All right. According to StreamYard, was running a little slow for me today. It could be me. I just woke up from the nap. We're all running slow. We should be going. I am Jarrod Chris, the RCL artist. I want to welcome you to Best Under 5. And who am I welcoming? Well, I'm welcoming the folks in the chat for our live stream. Of course, I'm welcoming my co-host, Black Belt Chris. Welcome back, Black Belt Chris.
Thank you, Jarrod.
Yes, indeed. We are broadcasting live today on May the 4th, Chris. May the 4th is known as Star Wars Day, right?
Yes.
So naturally, we said we're going to take that 1977 classic and just take, on Star Wars Day and find the nearest knockoff that we could find and do it.
There's a couple of them that come to mind.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, a lot of folks tried to cash in on the Star Wars craze in 1977. Yes. And in 1978, one of those people to cash in on it was whoever made STARCRASH. I'm not sure who the producer was. And there's no way we could look that up on the internet.
I think it was Roger Corman. I think Roger Corman was involved in this in some way, shape, or form.
I think Corman was, yeah. Director was Luigi Cozzi or Kazi or however he says it.
Kazi, yeah, but that's not what his name is in the American version because he's Italian.
Oh my goodness, it goes on and on.
Yeah, I think the American version it's Louis Coates, I believe. I'm looking at my notes here.
Very American. I like it. So yeah, welcome to Best Under 5. We are going to talk 1978's STARCRASH, which currently holds a 4.0 on IMDB. And I want to say hello to a few people in the chat before we get started, because we always appreciate those who spend their Sunday afternoons with us to do this live. We got our friend Matt, we've got Kathy, and I think Heinz snuck in there as well. So hello to you three, and hopefully some more folks will come in as we chat about 1978's STARCRASH. Now, the most important thing to know about STARCRASH, in my opinion, before we officially get our discussion going, is that it stars the absolutely gorgeous Caroline Munro, who you may know from, I know her from The Spy Who Loved Me, the James Bond film, but she was in a bunch of British Hammer stuff back in the day. And so, yeah, Caroline Munro, she's really the star. But a couple of bigger names, maybe, especially here in America, in the Americas, here in North America, would be Christopher Plummer is in this, as is an up-and-comer in 78, Chris.
Yes, an up-and-comer. Yeah, I looked
David
it up.
Hasselhoff also stars.
Yes, this was his, look at my notes here, this was his second major movie that he was in.
Oh, okay. Very
so he had been in something before this, if I remember right. It was I think it was a made-for-TV movie.
It makes sense to me. It's like, it was amazing to be about David Hasselhoff. Is like, he does look young in this. This is 78. He looks young, but like he is absolutely recognizable today as he is there. Like, the man has like Tom Cruise style jeans or something.
I'm sorry.
He's aged really well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. This was his fourth role, 2 TV appearances. It was his second movie. His first movie, Revenge of the Cheerleaders.
Hang on, I got to make a note to check out Revenge of the Cheerleaders.
I can see the gears turning. Like, Jarrod's thinking, I'm going to check this out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yes, so we do have Hasselhoff. Well, before we get into our, overall opinions, let's kind of discuss our history with this film. I personally had seen it once before we decided to do it for this show. And I had seen it because I want to say it's in one of the later, the post heyday crowdfunded seasons of Mystery Science Theater. I think it was like Mystery Science Theater officially finished was season 10, and then they brought it back crowdfunding for 11, 12, maybe 13. I don't think it's in 11. I want to say it's in 12. I could be wrong, though. I think it's in season 12 of maybe 13. Anyway, it's one of those post heyday seasons, one of those crowdfunded seasons. So that's how I originally saw this film. Is that how you saw it too, Chris?
Nope. I actually stumbled upon it on Tubi, probably 4 years ago, and
Okay.
saw that, and I'm thinking, okay, it's got David Hasselhoff in it. I'll bite. I gotta watch this.
And Hasselhoff, just so you guys know, if you listeners are out there or you folks in the chat, hey, Courtney, I want to welcome Courtney to the chat. Those of you who are listening and maybe want to check it out, just a heads up, Hasselhoff shows up about halfway through the film.
Yeah.
He shows about halfway through the film. And you know, like, if you know he's in it, you know who he's going to be about 10, 15 minutes into the film. You know, okay, I know who he's going to be. They're searching for the mysterious long lost prince of the kingdom or whatever, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, Hasselhoff's in this, we haven't seen him yet, so I think we all know who he's
gotta be the prince.
Gots to be the prince. All right, so we've talked, we've introduced ourselves, we've talked about our movie STARCRASH from '78, and we've talked about how we saw it. So now it's really just open season now. I'm just looking at the chat real quick, catching up with them. AU Kathy says it looks like a Cylon helmet on the poster. True.
Yes. Well,
Matt
this would
Posso
have
says Hoff is a legend.
Yeah, this would have been right when I think Battlestar Galactica had hit TV, right? 78.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
I
By the way, the
guarantee
poster
Roger Corman saw that and said, "Yeah, that's what I need on my robot." And I do absolutely love the robot sheriff.
Yes,
He's great.
and I want, and since we're looking at the poster, I just want to let everybody know that it's really kind of a cool painted poster of the era. It's I feel like the poster is quite good.
Yeah, the poster's fantastic. Let's see.
All right, so should we lean into any trivia from Chris here at this point? I only have one thing that I don't know how I know this. So Chris, if this is in your notes, I'm sorry, I'm stealing one.
Let's see what you got.
I was shocked to see that an actor of the caliber of Christopher Plummer was in this, because I like him a lot in almost everything he does. And somehow, somewhere along the lines of doing research for this, I don't dabble too much in the trivia because it's Chris's domain, but I came across the fact that, like, basically he only did the movie because he loves Rome and it was a free trip to Rome. So you did come across that too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I came across that one. Yeah, the only reason I did it was because it was a free trip to Rome. Sure.
He was like, not? Yeah. He's like, it's my favorite city, and it was a free trip. I mean, not only that, he's getting paid. So, hey, hooray, you know. But with that, I will stop talking trivia and let you have it.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned it. He shot all his scenes in, I believe it was 1 or 2 days.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, they got a lot out of him.
He was done shooting pretty quick, so he had a lot of time in Rome to just kick back and relax. But let's see, what do I got here? I got a couple of good ones. Oh, there was a dinosaur sequence that was filmed but deleted.
Oh,
now I want to go find that.
Yes. Well, I think Corman also made Carnosaur, which is on our list of movies to watch for this, for this show.
Yes, I do remember you mentioning that.
We'll iron that out at some point, folks.
We were talking Hasselhoff earlier. He got food poisoning during shooting, so a production assistant in a mask filled in for a significant number of scenes.
Oh, interesting. Poor Hasselhoff.
And let's see, what else we got here? Oh, Ennio Morricone was offered the soundtrack, offered to do the score, but he turned it down, and John Barry picked it up.
Oh my gosh, did he? Yeah, I have to talk about that. Like, I have a lot of high points to talk about for this film.
Yes.
And I was probably 30 minutes into this movie before I'm kind of hearing the scores, and I'm going, this is a very kind of a James Bond, like a vibe to it. And then I went, no way. There's no way they got John Barry to do the score for STARCRASH. And sure enough, I pulled out my phone and looked it up, because I guess I didn't pay attention in the beginning when the credits were going by. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a Barry, and this music is really good.
Yeah, 5 minutes in, I'm thinking, this sounds like James Bond. You know, the first time I saw it, I looked. That's why it's John Barry.
That would explain it.
And let's see what else. This thing was actually released in theaters. It went up against Every Which Way But Loose, Superman, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That would explain why when it was released. Yeah.
I don't remember where it ended up in the list, but those were the top 3 at the time. Superman
Right.
was kind of on the way out, and then Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Every Which Way But Loose were 1 and 2.
You know, it's something that's kind of lost to time that I've mentioned on a couple other shows is uh Star Wars itself was kind of on the way out. Star Wars stayed in theaters for like,
Mhm.
I would say a year, maybe 14, 15, 16 months. Like there was a lot of productions that were made and just didn't release because they're like, we're going to wait for Star Wars to run its course. And it took so long because it was such a popular movie.
Yeah.
It's sort of, if you weren't alive at the time or you didn't know that, it really was quite the thing. Like in 77 for Star Wars, the only movie that really had the stones to go up against it and did well was The Spy Who Loved Me. That was about it. And I'm telling this from an action film face-off
Mhm.
podcast point of view. Every time Jason and I spin that randomizer and 77 shows up, we're like,
Yeah.
uh-oh, because there's not a lot to pick from. They just didn't release a lot. But anyways, that was my tangent, and I'll back to Chris for fun facts.
Yeah. Those are the only ones I've got. Those are the ones that really stand
Okay.
out.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I those are your fun facts, and I will just say a few of the things since we started sort of with the Barry thing. A few things I really liked about this movie, and then I'll pass it to Chris for things that he liked. And I won't take too many, or else I'll probably step on his toes. Obviously, the John Barry music was a big part of it. Carolyn
Mhm.
Monroe is gorgeous, and it cracked me up how, like, as the movie goes on, just pieces and parts of her clothing just shrink and disappear. And like she starts out like in a regular outfit, and it just keeps getting less and less until they finally go to like the snow planet, right? And then finally she gets to put on clothes again. Oh no, but like she's absolutely gorgeous. So
It's
she's awesome.
it's funny you mentioned that because we watched this. I watched this with my wife and my son, and my wife said that too. She's like, you know, it might help if she actually put some clothes on, and that she might not be as cold." Or what she makes some quip at some point when they're on the prison planet, and she says something about the radiation, getting to her or whatever. And my wife goes, "Well, maybe if you actually wore the proper clothing in the mine, that might help."
You hush up. But yeah, it is funny because she goes from like regular to like kind of the skimpy outfit you see on the poster,
Mhm.
and somehow manages to get a little less than that and still not get a rated R rating. But yeah, she's gorgeous in it. Of course, Christopher Plummer makes me happy in anything. I think he's great. The guy who played like the absolute mustache twirling villain, I'd seen him in some other stuff. I know I saw him
Yep.
in a bizarre, coolly bizarre 80s slasher called Maniac. He was
Mhm.
the
Yep.
Maniac, and
I
I've seen
had
him
to
in other
look him
stuff
up
too.
too. He
Yeah,
was in Taxi Driver,
okay.
Rocky, and Nighthawks. Those are the
Rocky
3
was
I
the one
recognize him.
yes, I was stressing to go. I know he was in something big in the back of my brain. It was Rocky.
Mhm.
He plays Rocky's boss,
He's
the
Rocky's
mobster.
boss, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the mobster before Rocky starts boxing for a career. A lot of people forget that he was like a leg breaker for the mob. He was a nice leg breaker. He didn't really want to hurt anybody, but he was Rocky's mob boss. Yeah. And he's really good in that movie Maniac. Just for you listeners out there, if you want to check it out, it's like an 81-ish movie. Don't hold me to that, but it's really good. If you like sort of a sleazy slasher New York City film, it's good for that. Now, if that's not your
Mhm.
bag, then
Yes.
absolutely don't watch it. But otherwise, it was like it's a slasher film where you really kind of get to know the killer and why he's messed up and stuff like it. If you're into that, it's good. If you're not, avoid it. So that's my thoughts there. But just a couple of highlights I want to hit before I give it to Chris for highlights on StarCrash. I loved the enemy spaceship. Their Death Star is shaped like a hand, and like it can move and ball into a fist, and like I thought that was really cool because it showed me something that I hadn't really seen before, which it gets creativity points. And that kind of leads me to my big overall. This movie, even though it's right on the coattails of the amazing sort of quantum leap in special effects that Star Wars 77 gave us, This one is a bit of a step back, but it's like maximizing the use of all the old school practical effects. And I really appreciated that. I thought it was really good at the practical effects that it was using to attempt to emulate Star Wars. And I loved it. I love the effects in it. So those were some of my highlights. And I don't want to keep talking too many because I want Chris to be able to weigh in with some of his.
Well, you hit a couple of mine. Definitely the definitely the score. The John Barry score was definitely the biggest highlight for me. And like I said, like you said, you had said something about the special effects. I thought the special effects, they were okay. I thought the costuming, I read a few reviews that people had written saying, they weren't real wild about the costuming. I thought the costuming was pretty decent. For what they had to work with, the costuming was good. But I think the highlight was L, the robot cop or the robot sheriff.
As seen on the poster, if you're watching us live, he's the big looming robot looking dude on the poster. Who, by the way, looks so villainous. Like they're clearly like trying to make him like Darth Vader, but he's not a bad guy at all.
No. Well, and that's the thing. You start off with this movie, and you got Carolyn Monroe's actually. I guess she's the main character here, and was it Marjo Gortner? I think that's how you pronounce his name,
right? Yeah,
he's kind of the secondary character, but yet he's got this force ability, force-like ability to him, but yet he also kind of acts like what my wife said. She's like, he reminds me of C-3PO.
Yeah, that's a great observation that I hadn't thought of, because there's something about him, like he's kind of Luke Skywalker-ish, but then about halfway through the movie, like I feel like Hasselhoff's a bit more Luke Skywalker. Like there was something about him, and I think we can come to find out, wasn't he like from some other race, like some other alien race or something, maybe, or maybe it was his force ability. There's something a little off, and that is a great note that he is more, he's part of the story, but you don't feel like he's a romantic lead for Caroline Munro. You never get that vibe at all. He's more sort of almost lovable goofball, but not terribly silly either. Just sort of a lovable kind of guy. It's weird that he has such a prominent role, but it is not with that lens, with that C-3PO lens that you just gave me. It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. That was when my wife said that, I thought, you're right. that's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had great hair. He had Richard Simmons hair all day.
Yes. Well, and I thought for what they were given for a budget, what they had to work with, I thought the special effects were pretty good. The spaceships were definitely interesting. All three of us, as we watched it, we kind of noticed, why is it all the spaceships kind of look like birds? They are not birds, fish. They all have a very fish-like appearance. And I'm thinking, yeah, but they kind of look pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I have no complaints.
And like you said, especially that hand, like, what, a hand for a spaceship? Okay, it's goofy, but I like it.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it before, and it could transform into like a fist. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And old dude, man, I mentioned it before that one day I'll actually learn his name. The guy from Maniac and Rocky, like when you use the phrase mustache twirling villain, that is exactly what you get from this guy, man. All the way in. But anyway, did you have more on your list of good things?
No. Oh, and that guy, it's Joe Spinelli.
Thank you. It's been driving me nuts. Spinelli. It was I would have guessed Joe, but I could not remember the last name. Spinelli.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to cough there. He really leans into his role as the Count. I like it. It's not totally over the top, but it's like right there at the cusp, and I like it.
I want to say hey to Sean in the chat, who dropped the Joe Spinelli name for us as well. This might be the first time Sean has stopped by, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the heck out of Sean in general. As an aside, he's another sort of goofy movie lover, B films. He specializes in martial arts flicks, and I love following Sean on X because I get about half the movies I'm going to watch from his account. Just there's a few accounts out there that are sort of watching these sort of offbeat things that I also find cool. Like we have a vibe. So thanks for stopping by, Sean, and I really appreciate you on that. Chances are one of the films that you've watched is going to show up on this show because I follow you on X. So yeah, one of the big pluses I want to get into it, and then we can kind of talk minuses, obviously, but the last kind of big plus I'll give to it is, and some people might put this as a minus, but I really actually like the way that their space, you know, how space in Star Trek and Star Wars is very black and white, you know, very stars and blackness, you know, when you're out in space. This space is very colorful. It almost feels like space when they hung up a few Christmas tree lights, which may literally be what they did to make this space. I don't know. But I appreciate the fact that this is a very vibrant movie overall in terms of color, which is like, if you think about Star Wars, you get a lot of black and white. I mean, Darth Vader is black, you know, and he's got he's got shininess, white reflections on him, and the stormtroopers are black and white, and there's a lot of black and white in Star Wars. And this movie just is very vibrant and colorful. So I did appreciate that as well.
Yes, the color. That was one thing that struck all three of us as we watched it. And, you know, and like you said, light bulbs behind a black screen. That's kind of what we were thinking. It's like, you know, that's all that is back there.
And maybe sort of slightly out of focus, so they have like a, you know, not a sharpness to it, but I really liked it. I was like, the color palette across everything I thought was great. Great. So at the Courtney has just revealed in the chat that she is my father. Jarrod, I am your father. That's what happens. You bring up Darth Vader. As far as the downsides of the movie go, for me, honestly, Chris, you're always a slightly more critical than I am, because I just really love B movies, and you do too. I know you do. I'm not saying you're the super grumpy guy, but I overlook a lot of stuff, and I did for this movie. Like, really, to me, the only thing that I don't even know if it drags it down so much as I kind of like it too. Like, just eye rolls. Like, okay, the lightsaber knockoff thing, like, they absolutely had to get in some lightsaber knockoff. I want to say for old dude, it like actually came out of some specialized glove or mechanical hand or something like that. I can't rightly remember. It wasn't so much a handled object.
Don't remember either.
It was a little slight twist on it. So, but I was like, so I guess overall, that's my biggest negative, is this was such an obvious Star Wars has hit big. We need to cash in now. Film to me, like, that's its biggest. Like, I fully believe, and we'll talk more about this when we sort of give it Jarrod and Chris's scores. I fully believe that is the biggest factor in it being a 4.0 out of 10. Is that the biggest thing working against it is that it's not Star Wars. It's a Star Wars cash grab. I think that assigns a lot of people their opinions on it, as opposed to just watching it as a B sci-fi movie of the 70s. What are your thoughts? You may have some more technical things that sort of bring it down, and I probably would agree with you, but that's sort of me from the 10,000 foot view. What do you think, man?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, like I said, the special effects are kind of a pro and a con for me. I mean, yeah, they're cheesy, but it's Roger Corman. You know, he's working with the hand he's dealt and what he can get his hands on. So, you're going in expecting it, but I think it's a Star Wars knockoff, but it's a silly Star Wars knockoff. There's another one, Battle Beyond the Stars, that I actually like. I actually like it less than this one, even though I think it's got a bigger budget and a couple of bigger names to it too. But I think the biggest drawback for me on this movie was the dialogue. The dialogue was pretty cheesy, and in some points it's like, oh, good Lord, really?
I
that's
think
the best line. That is the best line you can come up with.
You got to put it on mute and then just watch Carolyn Monroe, and then the movie just gets better and better and better. No, you're right. You know what? As I said, I kind of do a 10,000 foot view. You're right. If there is one thing to pick on this movie about, is like, its writing is not great. And I don't even know if that's a slight to Luigi Cosi. I'm looking at the writers right now. Nat Walksberger and R.A. Dillon. That might not even, I don't even want to say you guys are bad writers. It might be a product of, we got to get this movie. Star Wars is hot. We got to move fast. If you told me they literally wrote this script in 2 days, I'd believe you. And I'd say, well, that's not bad for 2 days, but But you're right. Like at some point, probably about 15 minutes into it, I really am just watching for the spectacle of it, the effects and all that. And honestly, I don't mean to be lecherous, but Carolyn Monroe is gorgeous. So, I mean, it carries a lot of weight. They knew what they were doing. Sean mentions in the chat, funny trivia for StarCrash. Spinelli was also an uncredited dialogue actor on the movie, but his own voice ended up being dubbed by another actor. So he helped other people with English, and then he ended up getting redubbed anyway. That's
wow.
Funny. That is funny.
I think, out of all the dialogue, I think the robot had the best dialogue. His
confirmed.
His one-liners. He was. He's very much, K2SO from Rogue One. Like, what was it? The one thing that had us really laughing, cars. Oh yeah, he comes in when they meet the Queen. He comes walking in, he's like, "Make any suspicious move, and I'll clean up your sinuses real good." What? What? But it had me laughing. I wasn't going like, "Oh," I wasn't going, "Oh, that's a bad line." I'm like, "Oh, that's hilarious."
Yeah, I would say the other thing that, and I agree, it is hilarious. The other thing that maybe we'd have to put on the writers, maybe not even necessarily dialogue, but story. I didn't quite understand, and maybe it's because I was too checked out watching spectacle things. But there were some parts where I was like, okay, they got captured, they went to a space prison, and then she broke out of the space prison, and then somehow got back on, and I stopped, maybe I stopped caring about the order of events after a while, until they sort of officially got that mission to look for the prince and help stop this big war. And then I forgot this is the biggest negative I have about the film, Chris, even beyond some of the dialogue. I just thought it was a crime that we have Carolyn Monroe. We have, at this point in the movie, the other dude, the tiny Richard Simmons dude, is dead. Spoiler. We have Carolyn Monroe, we have Hasselhoff, and we have Plummer, kind of literally standing shoulder to shoulder, watching the biggest action of the film, the big action battle piece at the end, watching it happen. None of our lead characters are literally involved in the action in any way, and I'm like, movie sin. Like at least put Carolyn Monroe and Hasselhoff in some kind of an attack ship to be part of the battle. That was just, I'm like, come on. They literally watched the final battle happen. On the other side of that, one of the things that the good guys do to invade the Fist ship is they literally launch people inside of torpedoes, smashing through the windows of the Fist ship. And they pop out and start shooting. And I'm going, wouldn't the space, they're in space. If you smash that window, all your oxygen and stuff is gone at this point. But hey, I have fun with it. So
minor detail.
That's something I sort of laugh at. But the fact that your main three actors have nothing to do, they literally show them sitting there just watching.
And it's funny you mentioned that now, because that didn't dawn on me until you just now mentioned that. I'm thinking, holy cow, you're right. They do. They basically sit out almost the entire main battle. It's you're right. They should be in there somewhere, or at the least, they should have maybe led the charge into the ship so that they're in the ship battling, all the bad guys, and leading the group to overthrow the Count.
100%. Our boy Sean comes in with another comment, which is great because I'm going to use it as a segue. He said he had a VHS copy of StarCrash back in the day, watched it so many times the tape broke. Well, let me tell you something. This is not the easiest movie in the world to get a hold of. Like Chris says, I mean, you may find it on Tubi. You can go find the Riff Tracks version. But as far as finding it on DVD or some sort of digital way, because I get DVDs and I put them on my Plex, or I find a movie digitally and I'm able to put it on my Plex. I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm certain I could go on eBay and probably find the DVD, and it probably has a pretty high value for as far as DVDs go because of its rarity. But man, it was a tough find. I ended up watching it on YouTube, had it free with ads. If you were, so an ad would pop up every 10 minutes or so, and they always pop up at the most inopportune times. So, how those go.
Of course.
But that's how I did it. And I said DVDs, so Kathy in the chat said nuts. DVDs nuts. Thanks for keeping it going, Kathy. So yeah, if you're lucky enough to own a physical copy of this, like our boy Sean did up until he broke his VHS copy, then you are one of the lucky ones. I'm a big yard sailor and Goodwill guy. I've literally never seen a copy of it. I've never seen or held a copy of it, and I've been to literally thousands of yard sales, Goodwills, Christian missions, Salvation Army, thrift shops. I've never seen a physical copy of it. Never. Oh, goodness. Sean, we had to start having Sean on the show. He drops another fun fact that it was also released on video under the title Female Space Invaders. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how
really
it gets
one female in the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's two. There's there's Carolyn Monroe, and then there's the Queen, but she's not in the movie for all that long.
Oh, I
So
was
you're right.
really.
Yeah. There's pretty much one female in the movie.
Yeah, well, there you have it. So, any other thoughts before we maybe rescore? I will go ahead and tell the audience. I usually pull up off my Plex. I pull up the comments, the quick comments from Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't have this on Plex, so I don't have that feature in this episode. So we're not really going to talk about the comments other than the ones that Chris, already brought up, because I don't have them available to me. But
I'm just looking through. I don't have a whole lot,
yeah, it is just what it is, man.
Yeah.
And
I was just looking through my notes, and I was disappointed when Elle got blown to bits, and all three of us are like, what? They killed the best character in the movie.
Yeah.
but then he makes a triumphant comeback.
That's the nice thing about being a robot is you can have a triumphant comeback. As C-3PO, he got blown to bits too.
Yes, yes. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Okay, so here's the question. Did Lawrence Kasdan and the guys before they did The Empire Strikes Back watch this? Because there's an ice planet.
There's an ice planet, and their robot gets blown up,
blown to bits. And did they also say, "Hey, let's do this part in Return of the Jedi"? Because they land on that planet, they get captured by cavemen, and the cavemen truss them up, and they're gonna cook them just like the Ewoks were gonna do to Luke and Chewie and Han.
So I knew it. Lucas was ripping off STARCRASH the whole time, ladies and gentlemen. Lucas was ripping them off. All right, let's sort of give this our rankings then, and I go first a lot. So Chris, let's start with you, and I'll do my ranking after yours. So what would you? It's got a 4.0 right now. How do you feel about that? How would you rescore it?
I would not score it lower. For what it is, I would not score it lower. Now, I would definitely not. I'm not going to put this up in the 6-7 range for sure, but I would put it. If I had to rescore it, I would put it just out of range of this show at square root of 5. Square root of 5.
Square root of 5? Okay. Yeah. Here's my thing. I am going to give it a 6, and I will tell you why.
Ooh, okay.
I will tell you why. I've been thinking about this reasoning for several days now since been thinking about the show. The movie I would most compare this to, because the obvious one is Star Wars, right? If you shake that out of your brain, like we said, and just kind of watch it as its own. The movie I'd actually compare it the most to with its wonkiness, its weird at times dialogue, its colorfulness, its creativeness would be 1980s Flash Gordon. I think this has more in its genetics to Flash Gordon than it does Star Wars. And because when I saw Flash Gordon has sort of the oomph to be team special effects. It has that color palette. It has the beautiful women, and it has the plot that doesn't necessarily make sense, but it's a fun ride. To me, this is a lot like that, and they did it 2 years before Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon currently sits at a 6.5 on IMDb. I think Flash Gordon is still better, but the fact that this is in that league, I will give it a 6. So that is Jarrod's reasoning. I think this has a lot more in common with Flash Gordon than it actually does with Star Wars.
Okay, I'd buy that. It's funny you mentioned that because as we started talking here, I kind of thought, this when you started mentioning colors towards the beginning and the color palettes and everything, how space was a lot brighter, and Flash Gordon popped into my head,
Nice.
and
So I'm
I
not
like how
crazy,
Yeah, no, you're not.
or
No,
we
you're not.
both are.
I like how Courtney here says, she mentioned Spaceballs. My wife, when we were watching this when they were on that planet and that big steel golem,
Oh
comes
yeah.
after him. My wife goes, "It's like the maid from Spaceballs," and I go, "You're right."
Oh my gosh. Sean just gave us more stuff to add to our list, by the way. He said another fun Star Wars knockoff is Message from Space starring Sonny Chiba. I'm literally writing it down.
That's going in the notes.
Message from Space, Sonny Chiba. I pretended to write something down earlier, Chris, but if you remind me what it is, I'll literally write it down. Some other movie that came up in our discussion that I was like, interesting. We can always chat me later. All right. So those are our new scores, and we have the feature now. We sort of invented this feature as we were going along. At least I did, and I think we've kind of decided that we're gonna call every 10 episodes of this a season, and we're gonna keep up with the rankings, with Jarrod's rankings. This isn't Chris's rankings. This is Jarrod's rankings. Although Chris's tend to be similar to mine, and
I think yours and I.
We'll get to his.
With the exception of the middle, I think yours and I's are identical.
Yeah, ours mix in the middle a little bit, but our tops and bottoms are they're about there. So I will, for our viewing audience, I'm going to put up what the last month's episode was, Loose Cannons, with Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd, and I ended up liking it quite a bit because we are now on episode. This is 9. So last episode was episode 8, and I have it at 2 out of 8 is where I put Loose Cannons last episode. So where is StarCrash going to fit? Now we're on our 9th episode, and so the list as it reads now, before I reveal where StarCrash lands, we have 8 of them. At the very bottom of everything that ever existed, is Shark Exorcist at number 8. Almost got Chris kicked off the show in perpetuity. And 7, coming in at 7 is Grease 2. But thank goodness for Shark Exorcist, so that Kathy in the chat doesn't have to be so mad about Grease 2 being at the bottom, because that's her movie. 6 is The Fear. I believe Matt Posso brought us that one. And that's about where they start getting to me like, okay, I might watch it again. Okay. And 5 is Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. 4 was Fangs for me. I really liked Fangs. That was our premiere episode. 3 was The Base with Mark Dacascos, which ended up being a pretty fun action flick. Then I have, as I mentioned, Loose Cannons comes in at number 2. It's I think an underrated 80s gem, might be a strong word, but a fun time. And then at our number 1, which I think you and I are baffled how it is under 5, is Jaws 3, because Jaws 3 is just, it's fun. It's all fun.
Yeah, how that ends up with what did I say when I pitched that one? 3.6. Like,
yeah,
really?
like lower than StarCrash. It's like what? So yeah. So what does the list look like now, ladies and gentlemen? Big drum roll for those of you who are watching. I will post the new list up to number 9 on the list now, and I have StarCrash coming in basically dead center at number 5. It is just below Fangs and just above Blair Witch 2. Chris, feel free to talk about where you might put it, what you think.
That's right where I'd put it too. Yeah, that is exactly where I'd put it too. I would put it between Book of Shadows and Fangs.
Okay, nice.
Like I said earlier, our pretty much our 1, 2, 3 and our 7, 8, 9 match, and then the middle's kind of a mix.
Yeah, roll the dice. Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like, well, what do I feel like? I would definitely put StarCrash right in the middle.
Yeah,
it'd be a toss up between whether that's I would switch Fangs and StarCrash on my list.
Yeah, fair, absolutely fair. Same for me. I feel the same way about the list in general. Like you said, sort of 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9 are pretty much a lock, and then anything in the middle is roll the dice, flip coin type of stuff. Which means next episode, which should be first Sunday of next month. We haven't figured out what we're going to watch yet. We'll figure that out behind the scenes and let you guys know on our social medias. But will be our 10th. And we're going to call that a season because otherwise managing this list would get out of control after a while. So what our thought was, would we'd have our 1 to 10 rank for the end of season 1, then we'd start season 2. And I'm considering when we start season 2 with a brand new list, there will already be one name on it. I think we'll just keep the champion of season 1. So Jaws 3 will be,
there we go.
Will be on the list when we start season 2. And we'll just see if there's anything we find that can overthrow it. That's a tough battle, man. Because I mean, honestly, I think Loose Cannons is a legitimately good movie, and it still couldn't overthrow Jaws 3.
No. I've got one that I think could top Jaws 3.
Oh. Kathy's I think she's still upset about Grease too. And in the chat, she's threatening some sort of coup d'etat. She said us girls need to. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Courtney says us girls need to take over. Kathy said I need to do a chick version of this series. Approved. You can do that, Kathy. You can do that. You know how to work the StreamYard, and you are a member of the Longbox Crusade Network, so that's fine. Oh man, well, it's a fun chat. It's one of our longer chats. Usually they go maybe a half hour. We're about 40 minutes because I don't know. It feels like this is a fun one. You know, there's a lot of neat little things to talk about.
yeah. It was a fun B movie. It's not great. It's not totally horrible. It's mediocre. I know I did see one review said something. Maybe it was Wikipedia. No, I don't have it in my notes. Said that this was somebody said this was a master class in bad movie making. I'm like, oh, come on, really?
I don't know about that.
No, it's not. I've seen much worse.
Yeah, I would. You need to see that person needs to watch Birdemic. So,
hey, don't knock Birdemic.
Birdemic has its charms. There, yes,
it has its charm, but yes, that movie is a masterclass in bad movie making.
Yeah, this movie definitely, since I do watch a lot of Mystery Science Theater and subsequently riff tracks and that kind of thing, this movie is really good for that sort of fun night where you get with your buddies who kind of like to riff movies as well. Don't take it too seriously. Riff on it. Because there's actually an art to that. And I'm just going to apparently make the show longer, but just as a guy who watches a lot of Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks, like picking the right movie, there's almost an art to it because you want it to be bad enough to pick on. But if it's like so bad, you can still have some fun with it. But then you're moving into like I feel legitimately bad for everyone who was involved with the project. Kind of bad with it. And then on the other end of that, if your movie is like too good, you start paying more attention to the movie than you do the riffs because you're like kind of interested in the movie. And this walks kind of that perfect line where you're just interested enough in the movie that it's still fun to riff. If that makes any sense to you folks.
Yeah.
That's Jarrod's take after watching countless. I've seen every Mystery Science Theater. I couldn't tell you how many times. I literally watch one almost every day. Yes, that's just a fact. But, there you have it, folks. All the information you didn't even know you wanted. STARCRASH 1978. I don't know what else. I guess thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
I'll give you the usuals. You can find the Longbox Crusade on social media at Longbox Crusade on X, Facebook, Instagram. I think we got a Blue Sky account and everything. So we are out there. Clearly, YouTube. We'd love it if you gave us a subscription on YouTube. That'd be great. Or stop by and just make a comment, give a thumbs up. You know how those funky algorithm things work. We'd love you to help us out with them if you can. That's for the show. For us personally, I can be found at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram if you'd like to chat with me. Chris, where can folks find you?
People can find me on X at BlackBeltX21.
There you go. And he's another good follow, like my buddy Sean, who showed up in the chat today, which I appreciate. Chris is just one of those accounts that he'll post some kind of crazy movie, and I'll go, oh, I got to see that. You know, I have a few accounts that I follow that are just very good at that. Oh, I got to see that, and you never know when one of those movies might show up here on Best Under 5. And with that, I believe this podcast has been rated B for. Bye.
Bye.